And good morning. This is Seavark's Saturday Morning Radio School. And instead of a class, this morning we're going to hear from all of our county's clubs on their field day plans. And then we're going to talk a bit about the Terry Graves Memorial that ties in with all of those activities. So I'm going to just jump right in on this and we'll just start with alphabetically. We'll go Seavark. So Martin, that will make you first up. This is Martin, AJ6CL, who's Seavark's operations director. Is that He's a field day guy.
Yeah. Okay, Keith, I have some slides to share. Can I share my screen?
You can.
Let's see if I can make this work. Okay. Oh, where'd you guys go? Oh, there you are. Okay, share screen. Here we go.
Not seeing it yet. Oh, there we go.
Okay. Field day. This is going to be a little bit of a review for most, but we'll cover some ground. That's me, AJ6CL, CVARC Ops Chair, and we're planning field day. Just a real quick review of what's going on. Schedule. Well, CVARC will start setting up Friday before field day, Friday the 25th at noon. It's just a couple of weeks away. Operations, the actual operating event is Saturday from 11 to Sunday at 11 a.m. And then we'll break down immediately thereafter. Not going to look like this year. Oh, by the way, how's my audio, Keith? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
So, I really kind of miss this, getting together as a group in the tents. The plan that we came up with was designed during the age of COVID. So it's even though the state will probably be completely open by the time field day rolls around, we're going to still have some separation. Gary is working on the COVID-19 prevention plan. We decided to put this off until after the 15th of June, after which time I believe the state will align with the CDC recommendations and the Ventura County Health Department will align with the state of California Public Health Department. So, yeah, the governing authority is Ventura County Department of Health. And so we will align our plan with whatever rules they publish. So that's coming. We'll be putting it out and we'll probably actually have another Zoom before field day after Gary publishes the COVID-19 prevention plan. ARRL has extended waivers for those of you who wish to operate from home. Class D stations can work other Class D stations for points again this year, but there's a limit on how much power you can use, 150 watts. So that's extended. Also extended is the way they're going to aggregate club scores. So even if you're operating from home, you can still enter CVARC on the club or group field when you submit your entry to ARRL for field day, and it'll get aggregated with CVARC's score. When you do go to enter your QSOs on the ARRL app online, just look for Conejo Valley ARC. Can you see my pointer here, Keith?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's a drop-down menu in the club or group name field. So, if you start typing Conejo Valley, it'll come up with this for CVARC, Conejo Valley ARC. That's our official name at ARRL. So you can click on that and it'll aggregate your score with the rest of us. Of course, if you're operating at the Sherwood site, you'll log your QSOs on your laptop and then the score will be collected via N3FJP. So the software that we're using is N3FJP for logging your QSOs and looking for dupes and that sort of thing. N3FJP is really simple, and I think that's why the club uses it. When I first came to CVARC several years ago, when I was a new ham, and I didn't know anything about radio, and I knew even less about logging software, the topic of the monthly meeting was logging software, and the people that I spoke with told me that this was the simplest of all the logging softwares. And so that's what I bought. I use it for my daily contact log. And actually, it is pretty simple. And that's why we use it, I think. Um, and it's pretty intuitive. Even if you don't use a lot of logging software, I think it'll come pretty naturally. And we actually are going to have a LAN party, which I'll get to a little later. Dean wants to get together and make sure everybody's computers are going to work on the network. Category and class. All right, so your category and class are a number and a letter. The category is classified according to the maximum number of simultaneously transmitted signals. This year at Field Day, I anticipate it's going to be somewhere around 15, and we're definitely going to be in alpha. It's a club, more than 3 people operating. Okay, so if you're with us at the Field Day site at Sherwood, you're going to be in alpha. You'll be using the club call sign. If you're operating from home, you might be a delta or an echo, depending on your power source. Okay, for a further in-depth dive into the rules and the nuance of Field Day, you can go to the ARRL website and bring up details. Okay, the exchange. What's the exchange going to be? It's going to be your call sign, your Field Day operating class and category, and your ARRL section. In our case, we're going to be in Ventura County, which is part of the Santa Barbara section. So we're probably going to be a 15A, subject to change. You know, we'll probably have to do a survey once we get set up on Saturday morning to see how many stations we're going to have. Count the number of transmitters. That'll be the number. And then the class will be A or alpha. So I'll let everybody know. I'll have to walk around and tell everybody what the category and class is before we actually start transmitting on Saturday morning. The exchange then will be alpha AA6CV, alpha alpha 6 Charlie Victor, 15 alpha Santa Barbara, or if you're doing CW or digital, AA6CV, 15 alpha SB. So that will be our exchange. And like I said, the number here is subject to change depending on how many people actually show up and set up stations. This is the site. It's big, it's expansive. We intend to use most of this section of the site. It's big. We're going to try and separate the digital and the CW stations to try and reduce the amount of interference. Hopefully that'll help this year. Location. Okay, here it is down here in the lower left-hand corner. I think you can see my little marker. If this is Lake Sherwood, this body of water here is Lake Sherwood. This is Westlake Lake. To get to the Field Day site, this is the 101 freeway. Exit Westlake Boulevard. This is Westlake Boulevard here. Come south all the way down about 2 miles. There's a light. There's a light here at the intersection with Potrero. Turn right. Travel another, I don't know, 1.5 miles, 1 3/4 miles. The site will be on the left. For your GPS, I'll leave this up a minute if you want to copy down the coordinates, the address. 400 West Potrero Road works. 378 is really close to the driveway that we're going to be using to drive onto the site. So you can add this into your GPS, and this will get you there. Let's see. Okay. Again, how to get there? 101 to Westlake Boulevard. Go south on Westlake, 1.7 miles to the light at Potrero. Turn right on Potrero and drive about 2 miles. We're on the left. Coming from Newbury Park, I think you take Reno Road south to Potrero, turn left, and it's about 5.25 miles, and it'll be on the right if you're coming from the Newbury Park side. Okay, so the plan is to divide everybody up into groups, CW group, phone group, digital group. And I think Roger and I are gonna try and get there early. And he's got some survey stakes with some colorful ribbon and some white tape. And we'll put the white tape on the stakes and take a Sharpie and we'll mark the stake with CW group, phone group, or digital group. And then we'll drive the stakes into the ground so they'll be sticking up where we want you to set up your pop-up and your station. And we're going to arrange the setup such that you can drive right up to the stake, unload your car, and set up your pop-up right there. And there won't be a lot of walking or carrying gear, hopefully. And you can probably park right there, right next to your station, or maybe on the other side of the road if there's not enough room. But I think there'll be enough room on the side of the road that we're using for the pop-ups. So that's convenient. Oh, this is the site. It's kind of a pretty place. There's some hills. I'm kind of wondering what it's going to be like trying to get a signal out. Um, but thanks thanks to Gary for getting us the site. Um, we have 24-hour access to the site, and it's no charge to the club, which is a big plus. The other sites that we tried to chase down were, in the post-COVID era, they've raised prices, and the park district and the school district became enormously expensive. The first site that I tried to get was, of course, the same site we used last time we did an in-person field day at Maple. But neither the school district nor the park district, which was the second source I went to, neither would allow us access to their venues at night, and both of them had raised prices to be really expensive. So this is great. This is going to be a great site, plenty of room to spread out, and the price is right. Here it is. This, as you can see, this is the aerial view from Potrero, West Potrero. This is kind of a gravel or dirt road just off of Potrero that we'll be using. We'll be setting up the pop-ups along the road on this side of the road, the west side of the road, and then the antennas will be out in the field here. This is the boundary. It's a white picket fence. I think you can see it in the previous. You can see the fence over here on this side of the photograph. It's kind of a white picket fence. The area on the other side of the white picket fence is out of bounds. It's called a savanna, and the developer has set this aside to protect oak trees. So please stay on the east side, stay on this side of the white picket fence. And, these trees, these oak trees look really tempting. They're going to be right there, and we're going to want to put end-fed antennas or dipoles, using them for supports, but please don't. It's off limits. This is kind of a rough draft of the setup. The pop-ups will be on the west side of the road. The antennas are represented by these stars. This is kind of a rough draft. Actually, the trailer and the GOTA station are probably going to be closer down here to the entrance on this side of the road, but this gives you a rough idea of what it's going to look like.
And Martin?
Yeah, go ahead, Keith.
We also want to touch. We got to get every club in here this morning, so I hate to try and hurry you up, but we do want to touch on what like policies for visitors might be, since that'll be relevant.
Let me scroll down here. The other thing I want to emphasize is we need to pay for the barbecue. It's going to be $16 to the club or via Venmo. Use a club PO box or the Venmo address that Christian gave me. As of yesterday, I think we had the board meeting. We saw that there were only about 10 of us that had paid for the barbecue so far. So please, if you're going to attend the barbecue, mail your check or pay Christian on Venmo. $16. It's simple. It's dark. Bring flashlights. Label everything with your name, call sign. Things are going to get mixed up. It gets cold. Bring a sweater. Guide down your pop-ups. One other thing is Dean wants to get together for a LAN party to set up the LAN next Saturday. I'll find a venue, and the glitches that we've run into mostly deal with the digital sections. I think trying to control the radios and use the logging software at the same time. So Dean's going to set up the LAN, the network, and we're all going to plug our laptops in. Make sure that we have the most current version of the software, and that everybody's radio will work and everybody's computer will work on the LAN. So that'll be a week from today, 10 o'clock, and we'll live Zoom the school to the venue where we're setting up the computer so we can all participate with the radio school. As far as visitors go, we're gonna have to wait on what the I mean, we're welcoming visitors. We're not advertising as in previous years. We had put in articles in the newspapers and announcements. We sought a lot of publicity, to recruit new hams and show the public and the supported agencies just what we are capable of doing. We're not doing that this year. We are going to welcome walk-ins. We're going to have a GOTA station and a public affairs table, and I imagine there will probably be some kind of an infection control protocol where they'll wear masks when they visit us. But that more on that later, after Gary publishes the infection control
Right.
protocol.
So, for the
So,
purpose of anybody listening to this, as far as Terry Graves, CVARC will just be in line whatever the county's recommending at that time.
yeah, that's right. We're going to align our policy with whatever the county of Ventura has. And yeah, everybody from the Terry Graves contest, in fact, anybody's welcome to come. It's just that we're not anticipating we're not soliciting the crowds of visitors that we have in past years. But yeah, I anticipate there'll be some, cyclists down Potrero that'll stop by and, want to visit us and get a drink of water and use the porta potty
Yeah.
or whatever. And everybody's welcome to come in. Yeah, but it's just that we're not seeking a lot of publicity this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Having been a cyclist for years, yes, they're going to come and want the free water, and we'll talk as long as they need to get the free water and restroom.
Yeah, and they're welcome, and maybe we can recruit some new hams.
Yeah.
Okay,
And,
that's all I had.
okay.
I'll stop
Ooh,
sharing.
that's not the site.
No, that wasn't the site.
Yeah, I don't know if the headstones there will affect the propagation or not.
Oh, that was one of my cross country trips.
Oh, okay. Thank you there. And that's going to be an interesting site, and it may be a little tough for 2 meters. It's hard to see out of that little valley there as far as Terry Graves go, but we'll get to that because the participants on that don't have to show up and operate on 2 meters. But anyway, moving on alphabetically, I think we got Ventura County Amateur Radio Club. So, Clem, did you want to take that one?
Golly jeepers, hard act to follow here. Huh? A very comprehensive overview of your guys in Conejo Valley. I think generally the Ventura County, we're going to parallel all of that. Our site is, we were fortunate, very fortunate, we didn't have to pay for the damn thing. And it's the same one we used last time. We call it affectionately the duck pond. It's at the Oxnard College, their campus. It's, I think, a little bit smaller than what you have, but it's adequate, and it's green grass. It's a little more lush looking than yours. And we used it last time, I believe, what was the last time we did it? And we were fortunate in that they allowed it to use it again. And we had to go out and we got a porta potty and a hand wash station. We got that going. People coming in, I think, generally was a little bit different this time, or it's going to be a little bit different this time. Last time out, they went out there and strung up a great big mast and put dipoles all over the place. This time, I get the feeling it's a little more. What can you do to bring out and to show sufficiency, self-sufficiency, as it were? To, for instance, in my case, I'm curious to see what's going to happen. I put up ham sticks and solar panels. I've never done either. To see what can I do with that? How far can I get out with those? And I think we had some discussion last night at our meeting about, yes, we will put up some dipoles, the large things, and we can run feed lines around, and if anybody wants to, they can. Like you guys, we'll also be broken up. We have band captains, 20, 40, 80. What are you doing as CW, or you're doing phone, or you're doing FT8? And we also, the club has filters, so we don't, hopefully we don't interfere with each other. Food, we're going to have food out there, and an RV so that we can spend the night. Some selected individuals who are willing to volunteer to do so can spend the night in the RV to keep away the coyotes and make sure that the rigs don't grow feet. Wouldn't want that, I guess. But other than that, I think we pretty much parallel everything you're doing. I can't think of anything else. I think maybe Robert, our illustrious, maybe president-elect of the club, he might jump in and want to say something. Uh, I don't have any much else to offer. Although I kind of like ours, I can say I kind of like our venue better than yours. It's prettier. I think it's more a little more scenic, and we don't have the hills around us as far as to forbid us from getting out. Although we are kind of like near the ocean, kind of quite near the ocean, so the propagation goes pretty much to the east and the southeast. To the west, what do you got? You know, you just got Hawaii and whatnot. Uh, Although propagation as of late, I've been blind going to the east. No Japan, no Australia, no New Zealand. They're going the other way. Ecuador, Cuba, uh, Puerto Rico, Ecuador. Did I say? Yeah, South America, Chile, Peru. These seem to be open. So I'm very, very encouraged that this is going to be, things are opening up as far as the propagation is concerned, and we're going to have some good testing contacts.
Mhm.
And that's all I got, unless, Robert, you have something you want to add to it.
Yeah, we are outreaching or having a nice outreach. We're going to be in KBTA on the 23rd talking about what the club's planning on doing. Pedro, our secretary-elect, has already contacted the Oxnard dignitaries, and we're looking forward to hopefully bringing some officials out to visit us. I talked with Rick Tate, and he's willing to help us out. There's 100 points there if you can send in an ARRL radiogram. So we're trying to do as many things as we can, not only to make the field day fun, get people out, but also, like everybody else, we're waiting for the 15th to see what the county is going to require us to do. We'll have the hand cleaning stations and all of the other things, and we'll have masks and hard hats, but we are doing a little outreach to see who we can bring in. The campus is normally on break, and we do attract some people just walking on and off the campus. We've already done our test on N3FJP with the Wi-Fi, and we've got it working well. Everything's dialed in for us. Just jump over to Pedro. He's got his hand up.
Yeah, we have also contacted the Ventura Star, and they have been very receptive. And they claim that they may send over a reporter, and they may send over a photographer. So they're not concerned about the restrictions. Maybe I suggest, Martin, and that's entirely up to you, that they may be contacted by your club as well, and perhaps they get this guy to go drive around, you know, down your way, and have an article accordingly. You know, entirely up to you. The other people we've contacted are is the fire department, Ventura Fire Department. I had lunch with the chief and something like that. So he is talking about assigning or putting the word out to they call it the chief on duty for the area on that date or those dates, and maybe bring out, you know, have him come out and visit and so on. I don't, since he's primed already, Martin, I don't see any reason why they couldn't bring out I mean, you're in a big, heavy fire zone. I know exactly what it is. I used to live nearby. So I'm sure they'd be happy to come out. And since you're going to have a barbecue, you know, they're always good for a free meal. So those are my 2 cents. Back to you.
And that's an interesting comment there, Martin. We do have a VCFD station just a few hundred feet from that location. And if we get time later, Zach can tell us. I believe there's a planned visit from chief of police, and maybe the sheriff as well. So for VCARC or CVARC, I mean, and see what's happening now in 3 clubs, and I've got all these abbreviations to keep straight, and they're all that close to each other. So
I
anything
have
else,
a
Robert?
question.
Oh, go ahead, Clem.
Do you guys have any plans? It's been brought up that the FCC is requiring, obviously you have to do some sort of an assessment. You have to do the calculations to see what your radiation is. Do you guys plan to do anything like that on site?
Yeah, it's done. Done deal.
It is, Martin?
Yeah. Yeah. Bill Wilcox has already made the calculations for us.
Okay. That's all I had.
Okay. Well, anything else from Ventura County Club then? Well, alphabetically, we'll move on to VCARS, Ventura County Amateur Radio Society, and that'll be Stu, AG6AG, who's doing some very interesting things with his frame there. And go ahead. This will be interesting too, because we're not dealing with property with VCARS that's subject to the local controls and regulations. It's very different circumstance. But I'll leave that up all to Stu. You are muted, Stu.
Good for me. There we go. You hear us now?
Sounds great.
All right, good, good. First off, for my little thing, I'm gonna want you to go and change to speaker view if you could,
Mm-hmm.
and go ahead and full screen it if you'd like. And let me adjust some things out here before we get too much farther in this. And I will go ahead and start talking about, of course, one of my favorites, which is N6R. So we've used the N6R call sign now at the Reagan Library for 20 years. This has always been a special event call sign. One of the cooler parts about all this is we're actually going to be allowed to operate from the library. Now, what does that really mean? Well, for us, it means that we're on a lot of different constraints regarding social tracking and everything else for everyone that comes on the property. But I'll go into that in a little bit. The one thing that, we've really kind of worked towards making it possible for us to put up small antennas. So here's an example of one of our smaller towers. This is actually, I'm kidding, of course. This is one of the main towers. We're going to have 3 towers up this year spread throughout the property, as well as 30 to 40 foot masts spread throughout the parking lot this year. And we basically come out, like any field day, we come out on Friday at noon and start erecting all this stuff. And you know what? It's really fun to come out and take a look at. If you haven't seen big tower trailers deployed before, come on down. It's quite interesting to see all the things that go into doing that. We'll be running, I believe, latest calculations, which may vary. We'll be running a 9 alpha this year, possibly a 10 alpha. Depends on secondary radios on VHF, UHF, and things like that. Of course, let's go ahead and take a look at our site plan. And basically, this is our site plan. This is what we're going to be using. And you notice that we take advantage of a majority of the property that's available to us with this. We will be covering quite a few bands, both digital and phone and CW. And we do that without interfering with each other by giving us enough space between antennas, both horizontally and vertical space as well, which will allow us to get away from interference, which is, of course, for field day, the main interference or the main problem that we typically have operating simultaneously. Yeah, now, I think it's going to be interesting for Seavark this year because they're actually going to be able to spread out, and I certainly hope that they had the foresight to take advantage of all of their property in order to eliminate, that interference issue. But that's a subject for a post-mortem on everybody's field day. Now, we do have a few additional requirements, like I said, because we are operating at the library. The library wants to keep information on everyone that is going to be on the property. That includes visitors to our location. Currently, as of today, the library requires either you to be on our guest list, which means you have to pre register with us in order to be able to visit the site. Or, of course, you could buy a ticket to the library and come by and visit us and then tour the library. Currently, they are requiring everyone to be vaccinated at our site. And we really would love to see some visitors. We'd love to see some folks from Terry Graves out there. However, you will have to file a form in advance. And let me go ahead and pop that info up. If you could, please send an email if you'd like to visit the site and haven't already done this. Send an email to W6NCT at ARL.net. Vern Potter, who is our coordinator with the library, so we can get all the information from you that will allow you to be on property. Now, again, this may change without notice. However, I seriously doubt it, knowing the speed that the library has worked at opening back up. Our guess is they're probably going to ignore the governor mandate since they are a federal location and since they are covered by different rules by the federal government. So we're not really sure where it's going to be. We know what we're required to do now, and we're moving in that direction. And with that, let me go ahead. I'd love to open it up to. Let's see, where am I going here? I would love to open it up to, I got to get the right screen here. There we go. I'd love to open it up to questions. If anybody has any questions, please let me know now.
I can't see the whole screen, so if you have a question, just unmute yourself and speak up.
Yep.
Doesn't sound like we have too many there.
All right.
So.
All right. Well, thanks for the time.
Yep. And to anybody watching this who's not in the room here, even though I don't think the pre-registration is really all that difficult or an onerous task, I really recommend it. And even if you're visiting other sites, it's still going to be interesting to go by and see some really heavy hitter stations there, and see a side of ham radio that's kind of at the other end of the spectrum from what we're going to try and do with the Terry Graves event. So
Keith, Norm, it's for Clem and VCARC. What call sign are they going to use, and what numbers? 15 alpha, 9 alpha, well, whatever. For Clem.
Need to unmute Clem.
Well, Sierra Bravo, I don't know what's it going to be. Maybe, I don't know, 15 alpha. I don't know. What do you think, Robert?
Yeah, we've got a poll. We talked about it last night at our meeting, but we have a poll that's going out sometime today to try to tie down the number. But I think, like most other clubs, when we have our display card there on all of the operators' tables, we're going to have a blank alpha, and then we're going to fill that in at the last minute like we've done 2019, 2018, etc. But we're looking forward to having as many operators out there as we can. We will have a GOTA station as well.
Nice.
And we're K6 MEP, so we've used that call sign for years and years.
Any other questions for any of the clubs right now? Okay, I'll give a few minutes now about the Terry Graves Memorial event. And Stu, do you want to start that off and just take a minute or two and tell people who Terry was? You knew him very well.
Well, thanks. Terry actually was someone that was a mover and shaker years ago. He's the one that managed to shut down some of the restrictions that were going to be put on folks for antennas and towers here in the Canal Valley. He worked directly with the city to try to get rules in place that protected amateur radio, which he was successful at in the 80s. He was a real expert on antennas. If you wanted to know how to design an antenna to get the most out of it, Terry was the guy to talk to. And again, participated at the Reagan. I think he participated with other clubs as well throughout the years. And we lost him. I believe it was about 3 or 4 years ago. And he was an avid VHF high power guy. And on the other side of the spectrum, you could get him to sit there and talk about QRP without any problem at all. And again, he has had some amazing technical talks. There's a couple of them that are still available on the internet. If you have an opportunity, search Terry Graves. I think that's all I got, Keith.
Okay. I'll say that a lot of the people that I know who knew him, and my career as a ham did not overlap his time with us, have talked about his technical talks, but everybody has the same comment, that they knew what he was talking about for some reason, which was pretty special. That things were always made in a way that could be understood and very inclusive. And so when we were looking for somebody to dedicate this contest to last year, Stu had suggested Terry for that reason, among many others, because there's certain goals with the Terry Graves Memorial. Let me just make sure I have some notes in order. One is that it could be a field day activity open to virtually anybody with any radio and any license and any level of budget, any level of commitment. Everybody could take part in this. And we have noticed over the last year and a half with the BoardNet, we have close to 400 different hams in the county have checked into the BoardNet. And that's considerably more than belong to all of the clubs put together. We've got a lot of hams in the county that aren't necessarily taking part in field day. And even on field day, not everybody takes part on the on-scene activities. So we're trying to get all of those people out to the club sites and on the air. And last year, I was really, really surprised how well that worked. I think all of us were pretty startled by it, especially in a year with pretty poor propagation last year. By Sunday morning, a lot of the real heavy contesters were all of a sudden on VHF. So it was fun. This year, it's going to be even simpler. It's going to be 2 meters, no categories. Doesn't matter what radio you've got. If it's 2 meters, if it's simplex, you get a point for every QSO. They will follow all the ARRL rules and the same exchange. For most people, that's going to be 1 delta. It's not going to include any QSOs you make at a club site, because you'll be doing that under a club call sign, not your own call sign. However, we still want people to go by the club sites. So if anybody does, and they operate in any capacity on any band as an operator or a logger, then they will get 25 bonus points for that. And the idea is I want to try and get a lot of people that aren't part of the clubs to go out and shake a few hands and meet a few people. And, there's some great opportunities for doing that. And I think we're getting lucky with COVID that we're getting an opportunity, and even at the Reagan, an opportunity to be able to get in without a lot of effort and take part in these things. I'm hoping to be able to run a 24-hour Zoom like we did last year. That'll just be open, unmoderated most of the time, where people can hang out and chat about it. It's going to be tricky when it comes to the end of the contest, though, as far as coming into the Zoom to turn in scores, because that's going to be, the club sites are all starting to tear down at the same time. And so I haven't figured out an answer for that. Hopefully I've gotten a spark of creativity by field day. We'll see how that will go, but we'll find a way to make sure everybody can get together and talk about how they did. And maybe Sunday night we need to somehow organize a cross-county Zoom meeting that we can have everybody in the county invited to at 6 or 7 o'clock, perhaps. One of the other goals last year, and Stu again is really one of the driving forces behind it last year, was all the inter-club activity that took place. And the Terry Graves will still kind of be our tribute to what we did during that COVID year of, having really nice cooperation. And, my entire time in Ham now has been seeing all the clubs working together like this. So this is normal for me, and I really like it. And, the board meeting continues to go on, and we'll be pushing the contest on there. That's a lot of our target for operators. But that's about how simple it's going to be. Any questions about that?
Yeah, I had one, Keith.
Yeah.
I'm going to be running digital at the CVARC site. If I bring a handheld, does that, and use my own call sign, does that count as a separate system? Because I'm not using a different radio.
If you're within the 1,000-foot circle at a club site, I think you need to operate as the club. However, it would probably be sort of poor form to use your own call sign then, even if the rules allow it.
I can address that.
Stuart and then Zach.
So the actual rule is you absolutely can operate under your own call sign from that location. However, once you do that, you can no longer operate underneath any group club sign at that location. Okay. As the old saying goes, it's kind of bad sport to be operating a radio within a group of people that are trying to operate for points. But your mileage may vary.
Well, I was just thinking, there's a whole different group doing voice. So if I'm on digital and just happen to have some spare time, that was the thought. But okay.
Once you do that, all of the QSOs that you've ever made using that club call sign are void.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Although you'll still have an opportunity just to go over to Zach's trailer and do some 2-meter. It's partly a moot point because I don't think we're going to have a lot of VHF from that location.
Yeah, well, there is that.
Go ahead, Zach.
No, I was talking that at CVARC, we'll be doing all the 2-meter stuff from the trailer. So if anyone wants to operate, they just look for the trailer, and that'll be for the Terry Graves and all that kind of stuff.
And that becomes an issue too, using another radio at another location, as you do start getting the interference.
Yeah, because we'll be on that the whole time on the 2-meter from the trailer.
In fact, any other questions about that? Or about anything at all? We can just open this up here.
Yeah. Can the same station be used by different operators?
I can address that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the same station can be used by different operators, but only one call sign can ever be used on that station. So in other words, if you can have multiple operators on a station using the same club sign, okay, those operators cannot use another call sign. So you can't have a visitor come and make a QSO on that under a different call sign.
So in other words, once a QSO's been made on a radio, that's the call sign that radio has for the duration. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically what we have. We have the radio set up, and the night crew comes in for Saturday night. They use the same radio, the same call sign, but in the log they put their initials so they know who made it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I think we've covered what each of the clubs are going to do and the basics of the Terry Graves. And if anyone's watching, within a day or two of this being recorded, the terrygraves.org site will have information posted about it. And, well, of course, if you're not here watching this, you're watching this on YouTube, so you'll already know that I got it posted on YouTube. So thanks to everybody for giving some reports and visiting. And next week, the same session is going to be open to everybody in the county with any kind of field day questions or setup questions, rules, general chat. Where's the best barbecue going to be? Anything of that nature. So just sort of open, unmoderated, great big field day kerfuffle. Thanks for being here.